Hello, dear family. Welcome to another immersive escape with charm stories. Take a moment to breathe, exhale, and let go. If you enjoy what we do, kindly tap the like button. It means more than you know. Don't forget to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments. We read them all. Now sit back and let's set sail into the tale. Zara Okoye stood at the edge of the Marine Guardian's deck, the wind combing through her braids, the Atlantic whispering secrets in her ears. The vessel, the pride of her late parents' marine empire, glided smoothly beneath a sky set ablaze with gold and coral. Lagos shimmered on the horizon, a city pulsing with legacy, ambition, and stories. Hers, most of all. At 27, Zara was already a force. Headlines dubbed her the ocean's heiress, the CEO of Okoye Marine Innovations, a global leader in ocean cleanup tech, coral reef restoration, and underwater robotics. Since the tragic plane crash that took her parents 3 years ago, Zara had buried her grief in purpose. Her mother's words still echoed, "Water is the memory of life, sweetheart. Guard it, and you guard our future." She took those words and built something larger, launching scholarships for underserved marine science students, bankrolling research stations, and pioneering biodegradable plastics. Inside the ship's sleek lounge, her childhood best friend and legal advisor Nia Bello sat buried under a fortress of contracts. Nia, petite and razor-smart, wore her bobbed hair like armor, and her skepticism sharper than most courtrooms. She glanced up, tablet in hand. "You should be proud," she said, tapping an article. "This new recycling model will change how waste is handled across West Africa." Zara nodded, but her gaze drifted. The ocean called, not with urgency but with a question. Despite the success, the accolades, and the carefully arranged pieces of her life, something within her felt unfinished. Hollow, even, Nia noticed. "That stare again?" she teased, sipping tea. "You need to let someone in, Zara. Go on a real date. You're not just a company. You're a woman, too." Zara chuckled softly. "Every man sees the heiress before the human. I'm not in the mood to babysit fragile egos or swat away gold diggers." "Not everyone wants your empire, Z." Nia's voice softened. "Some people might just want you, and your parents. They'd want you to be happy, not just successful." Zara didn't respond, but something shifted in her chest. That evening, the Marine Guardian docked and Zara stepped ashore to greet the newest batch of Okoye scholars. Cameras clicked as she handed out letters to bright-eyed students bound for Harvard, MIT, and marine programs in Tokyo. "We won't just study the ocean," she said, voice strong. "We'll protect it, together." The applause rolled across the dock, warm and hopeful. But as she looked back toward the glowing city skyline, she sensed something approaching. Change. Something, or someone, was about to rewrite her life. The following night, at an exclusive Oceanic Innovation Gala in Lagos, Zara descended from her black car like royalty in motion. She wore emerald silk, and the chandeliers inside the glass auditorium caught every facet. The air was filled with chatter, champagne, and glowing digital reefs suspended from the ceiling. While discussing a coral drone prototype with investors, her eyes caught a man, alone, near the buffet. He wore a white linen suit that dared to defy the sea of tuxedos. His skin was caramel-toned, his posture relaxed, unbothered by the surrounding glitter. "He's watching you," Nia murmured from beside her. "I noticed," Zara replied, eyes narrowing with curiosity. Who shows up at a gala with no badge, no entourage, just wine and quiet confidence? Eventually, she walked toward him, deliberate and unhurried. "Enjoying the spectacle?" she asked. "Or just here for the open bar?" He smiled, voice smooth. "Bit of both, Julian Blake." He raised his glass. "And yes, I do support eco-solutions, though my role's more low-key." "Zara Okoye," she said, extending a hand. "But you already knew that." "Hard not to," he replied. "You've redefined oceanic innovation." And you? Her brow arched. I don't recall seeing you in the usual philanthropic circles. I move beneath the radar, he said. South African born, global investor in green tech. I prefer substance to spectacle. Before she could ask more, the host called Zara on stage to receive an award. She turned to Julian. Want to escort me? He tilted his head. It'd be a privilege. The walk to the stage buzzed with silent curiosity. Cameras snapped as she accepted a plaque. Julian standing just behind her. Elegant, understated, unknown. I dedicate this to my parents, Zara said into the mic. Their dreams became my duty. And to the youth, may you keep believing in a cleaner tomorrow. After the applause, Julian waited in the wings. You meant every word, he said softly. That kind of heart. It's rare in this world. Zara noticed Nia watching from across the room, her expression unreadable. But for once, Zara didn't care. Julian felt different. Later, when he asked for her number, she hesitated, then handed him a napkin with her private line. Don't lose it, she warned. I don't offer second tries. 2 weeks later, Zara sat across from Julian on a rooftop restaurant above Victoria Island. The city shimmered below, waves glittering, like secrets. You're unlike anyone I've met, he said, reaching for her hand. So many wealthy people just accumulate. You actually give. It's how I was raised, Zara replied. Wealth is a responsibility, not a trophy. He listened, intently, and she felt seen. But still, she noticed how little she truly knew about his past. He gave answers, sure, Johannesburg, tech investments, quiet ventures. But they always stopped short of detail. Yet her heart ignored what her mind whispered. They strolled private beaches, shared stories over candlelit dinners, laughed in hammocks beneath stars. And in time she introduced him to Mama Tola, the warm, sharp-eyed woman who'd helped raise her. He's polite, Mama Tola said, stirring jollof in the vast kitchen. But even the devil bows politely, child. Look beneath the smile. I am, Zara replied, kissing her cheek. I promise. 3 months in, they traveled to Ghana for a gala. Julian charmed diplomats, teenagers, and even Nia, who reluctantly admitted he wasn't entirely suspicious. Still, she insisted on a background check. Rumors spread fast. Gossip blogs dubbed him Mr. Okoye before he even proposed. But Zara waved it off. Love, she told herself, doesn't wait for permission. So when he proposed beneath the old lighthouse in Segal, holding a ring that caught the moon like fire, she said yes, with her whole heart. 6 months after they met, they married on a Maldivian beach. White roses framed the aisle. Orphans from Zara's foundation sang hymns of hope. Julian's vows shimmered with poetic devotion. Even Nia, now maid of honor, had softened. Mama Tola wept quietly in the front row, but in the quietest corners of her mind, Zara heard a whisper, a flutter of doubt. Too fast, too perfect, too polished. She silenced it. Life is short, she reminded herself, and joy rarely knocks twice. In broken English, the fisherman slowly explained that they often ventured to this secluded area to fish, far from the commercial trawlers. Travelers were rare, so discovering her alive was almost a miracle. As Zara regained some strength, she expressed her gratitude, struggling to explain who she was. I'm Zara Okoye, my family, my business, she tried to say, but her words felt heavy. She wasn't sure how to convey the enormity of her situation. These humble fishermen might not know her name, and even if they did, they might never believe her story. Still, they remained kind, nursing her back to health over the next few days. One of the fishermen lent her a phone, though it had minimal battery and the signal was too weak in the remote area. She attempted to contact Naya, her mother, anyone, but the call dropped before she could reach anyone. A wave of helplessness washed over her. She was alive, yes, but utterly stranded. At night, lying on a makeshift cot, she stared through the shack's open window at the stars. Thoughts of her empire flooded her mind. Her staff, her projects, the vision she had built. and she feared how quickly it might all slip away into Julian's hands. Could he have already declared her dead? On the third day, the fishermen announced they were heading to the main island to sell their catch. "We'll take you," said the elder with the scar. "You should see a doctor, maybe find your people." Zara's eyes brightened with hope. She insisted on leaving that very morning, still sore from her injuries but driven by the urgent need to survive and reclaim her life. They helped her onto a small fishing boat, the engine sputtering as it came to life. The ocean, calm under a clear sky, seemed to mock her recent terror. Zara gripped the side of the boat, steeling herself for the journey. She couldn't afford to let fear take over. The boat crept towards an archipelago of islands, palm trees swaying in the gentle breeze. Upon docking at a modest pier, Zara found herself in a small fishing village nestled between dense jungle and the sea. The huts were simple, perched on stilts to avoid flooding, and children peeked out from behind baskets of fruit. The air was thick with the scent of smoked fish, salt, and wet earth. Her rescuers led her to a small clinic where a nurse, a thin woman in her 50s, tended to Zara's injuries. She clucked her tongue sympathetically. "You're lucky to be alive," she said in heavily accented English. "These waters hide both miracles and tragedies." The fishermen had to leave soon to tend to their nets. Zara thanked them, her eyes filling with tears. They departed with quiet nods, leaving her alone with the nurse. After cleaning Zara's wounds, the nurse pointed to a back room with a single cot. "Rest here until you're stronger," she said. "After that, you'll need to figure out your next step." Zara's mind raced with questions. She longed to shout her identity to the heavens, but who would believe she was Zara Okoye, the billionaire? And if they did, how quickly would Julian learn of her survival? He had the resources to track her down, and who knew how far-reaching her presumed death had become? That evening, as she lay on the cot, an elderly woman entered. She wore colorful, flowing robes that cascaded around her small frame and carried a woven basket of herbs. She introduced herself as Mama Tola, her Nigerian Yoruba accent a startling comfort to Zara. "I'm not your Mama Tola, child," the woman said with a smile, "but they call me that here, because I care for those in need." She introduced herself as Tola Alamide from Ogun State, having lived on these islands for 20 years. Zara blinked in surprise, the presence of someone from her homeland oddly soothing. Mama Tola worked as a traveling healer. She had heard talk of a mysterious woman found unconscious after the storm and had come to offer her help. Over the following days, Zara's strength slowly returned. Mama Tola shared herbal remedies, massaged Zara's bruises with oils, and made sure she ate hearty meals. Each day, Zara felt herself regaining some of her former strength, and with it, her resolve to fight for her life. One afternoon, as Zara practiced walking around the clinic, she turned to Mama Tola. "How can I repay you?" she asked. Mama Tola laughed gently as she stirred a pot of herbs. "I ask for nothing, but for you to heal and seek justice," she said. "You have a story to finish, child." Zara stared out at the horizon, the ocean sparkling. Under the midday sun, memories of the storm, of Julian's betrayal, flooded her mind like a nightmare. She was still the woman with no name in this village, but deep inside, the voice of Zara Okoye was roaring to reclaim everything taken from her. Meanwhile, across the world, Julian Blake stood at a podium draped with white lilies, a picture of false sorrow. A sizable crowd had gathered in Lagos to mourn the loss of Zara Okoye, presumed drowned at sea. Cameras flashed as Julian choked out, "It is with great sadness that I announce the loss of my beloved wife, Zara. She was taken by a violent storm. The rescue teams tried their best, but she never returned." In the front row sat Nabello, her face streaked with tears, clutching a memorial pamphlet with Zara's photograph. Beside her sat Mama Tola, her face etched with sadness and prayer. After the ceremony, Nia approached Julian, her voice trembling. "You were with her. Are you sure there's no chance she survived?" Julian placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, feigning empathy. "If there were a chance, the Coast Guard would have found her. he said, swallowing hard. I'm so sorry. Mama Tala shot him a suspicious glare, but her thoughts remained unspoken. She had known Zara since she was a child, and it struck her as odd that such a strong swimmer could simply vanish. In the days that followed, Julian moved swiftly, contacting board members, lawyers, and bankers. Using a combination of legal maneuvers and Zara's own trust in him, he began transferring assets into his name. He claimed it was a temporary measure to stabilize the empire until Zara was officially declared dead or found alive. Nia, already emotionally frail, found herself confronted with piles of paperwork. As Zara's legal counsel, she noticed strange signatures and suspicious financial transactions. Julian insisted they were steps Zara had already approved to safeguard her empire. But Nia's suspicions grew. When she shared her concerns with Mama Tala, the older woman simply placed a hand over Nia's and whispered, "Keep your eyes open. Child, ask the ancestors for guidance." Meanwhile, the media praised Zara as a visionary lost too soon. Magazine covers flaunted her philanthropic achievements, and television specials aired footage of her smiling on a yacht. Julian soaked up the public sympathy, consolidating his power. Little did he know that the one person who could expose his betrayal was recovering her strength on a remote island, kept alive by the very ocean he had used against her. Back on the island, Zara's recovery continued at a slow pace. She could walk short distances on her own and even helped Mama Tala gather herbs from the nearby jungle. The village's pace was slow, and each day felt like a world away from the high-powered life she had left behind. Yet each morning she woke up with the burning need to return home and confront the truth. But with no money, no phone, and no clear way off the island, she felt trapped. One day, while preparing a medicinal paste with Mama Tala, Zara had a sudden flashback to the moment she was thrown into the sea. It was so vivid it felt like it had just happened. "What is it, child?" Mama Tala asked, concerned. "I saw it again," Zara whispered, her heart racing. "The moment he pushed me. It's as if it just happened." "Sometimes trauma hides itself until you're strong enough to face it," Mama Tala said gently, guiding Zara to a chair. Zara nodded, tears burning in her eyes. "I need to stop him. He's probably taking everything, maybe even saying I'm dead." Mama Tala thought for a moment. "There's a trading boat coming in a week or two. They may take us to a larger port where we can find a way to contact your people." Zara's relief was tempered by impatience. A week or two felt like an eternity when Julian could be seizing her empire. But there was nothing she could do for now. That evening, sitting by a small fire with Mama Tala, Zara spoke about her life before the storm. She told Mama Tala about her parents' empire, her philanthropic work, and her dreams of revolutionizing ocean cleanup technologies. She spoke of Nabello, her best friend and lawyer, and of Mama Tala, her true nanny from home. "He was charming at first," Zara confessed. "I believed he truly loved me. It's my fault for not seeing the signs." "It's not your fault, child," Mama Tala said firmly. "Those who betray trust are solely responsible. Your heart was genuine." Zara nodded, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I hope there's still something left to save. I can't let him destroy everything they built." Mama Tala touched her cheek. "The ancestors protected you for a reason. You will reclaim what is yours." Zara inhaled deeply, her resolve strengthening. She would return, not as a broken woman, but as a storm, ready to from Zo unknown to Nia. "Bello, Private Nia, I don't have time for a full explanation. I'm alive. Julian tried to kill me. I'm safe but stuck here. Please, if you receive this, don't let Julian know. Trust only Mama Tala at the mansion and Detective Kamari. I'll reach out again soon." Zara stared at the screen, her hands trembling. This was the moment. She had finally broken her silence and sent out her plea, though the chances of it reaching Nia were slim. It could be dismissed as some cruel joke, but she had to try. She glanced at Mama Tala, who gave her a reassuring nod. "Have faith. Your friend will know your heart," Mama Tala said softly. Zara also sent a brief, cryptic message to her company's legal team. marking it as confidential. She simply mentioned that the documents granting Julian control were invalid but left out any specifics. She could only hope someone would investigate it. Her eyes caught a reflection in the cafe's window, an unfamiliar man, tall and looming. A moment of dread gripped her. Was he one of Julian's men? But as quickly as the fear arose, it faded. He was just a tourist. They quickly gathered their things, and Zara purchased a cheap burner phone. It felt like a lifeline, though she knew it wasn't enough. After dusk, they returned to their tiny rented room above the cafe. Zara couldn't quiet the storm of thoughts in her mind. She had taken a significant risk, but she had no choice. She couldn't remain on this island forever. Sooner or later, she'd have to face Julian, but on her terms, with evidence, allies, and a strategy to outmaneuver him. That night, she dialed the number she knew by heart. The line rang once, then went to voicemail. Mama Tola, Zara's voice caught in her throat. It's me, Zara. I don't know if you'll hear this, but please trust your instincts. I'm alive. Don't let him deceive you. I love you. She ended the call and hugged the phone tight to her chest. Mama Tola, watching from across the room, spoke softly. Your true mother will hear you soon, child. Exhaustion hit Zara, and she collapsed on the thin mattress. She could barely keep her eyes open, but the fear, the anticipation kept her awake. The message was sent. Tomorrow things would shift. If Nia believed her, a plan could form. If not, Zara would continue fighting a war in the shadows with only her instincts to guide her. Meanwhile, Detective Kamari sat in his office, the dim lighting casting long shadows. He had just completed interviews with the crew members from the Yacht. Julian had paid them handsomely to keep the official story intact. Zara had fallen overboard during a storm. Yet something in Kamari's gut didn't sit right. There had to be more. Kamari's phone buzzed, interrupting his thoughts. A message from Naya. Need to meet. Urgent. He grabbed his car keys and weaved through Lagos traffic toward a quiet cafe, near the police station. When he arrived, Nia was already seated, clutching a thick file. She looked pale, worn out. Kamari slid into the seat across from her. Tell me everything, he said. Nia took a deep breath and laid out her findings. Suspicious signatures, questionable transaction dates, and the fact that Zara couldn't possibly have signed those documents. She also mentioned a cryptic email from an unknown source claiming Zara was alive. Kamari's pulse quickened. An email? Did you trace it? Nia shook her head. It came from an unregistered address. But the details, certain words only Zara would know. I can't prove it's her, but my gut says it is. Kamari rubbed his temples. If Zara is alive, and Julian is behind her disappearance, he's committed massive fraud, maybe even attempted murder. But we can't just accuse him. He's too powerful, and the board will likely side with him if they believe she's dead. Nia opened the file, revealing the evidence she had gathered. We start with this. We might be able to trace the email, location, but it's tricky. It's a public network, and he's careful. Kamari nodded. I'll keep an eye on Julian. We can't let him get wind of this. Meanwhile, keep collecting anything you can. We'll build a case piece by piece. Outside, the storm began to rage. Rain hammered the roof, drowning out their voices. Naya leaned closer. Be careful, Kamari. Julian won't stop at anything to protect himself. Kamari's resolve hardened. I'm in this for justice, Nia. I owe it to Zara and her family's legacy. The storm raged on as they parted ways, both carrying a heavy sense of anticipation. Later that night, Kamari visited the forensics lab to discreetly check on the signatures. The technician owed him a favor and agreed to run tests quietly. Kamari also started tracking Julian's financial activities. If Zara's email was legitimate, he wanted to be ready. Back in the small rented room, Zara and Mama Tala sat together strategizing. Zara had written out a broad plan on scraps of paper. Step 1. Gather undeniable proof of Julian's fraud. Step 2. Expose him to the board, the media, and law enforcement. Step 3. reclaim her rightful position and hold him accountable. But how could she execute this when half the world believed she was dead? Mama Tala studied the plan, tapping her chin thoughtfully. You'll need an insider, someone with power who can sway the board. Zara nodded. That's Naya, but she can't do it alone. The board's too intimidated by Julian's power. Mama. Tala's eyes sparkled with wisdom. You'll need a financial heavyweight, someone who values your vision, not someone Julian has influenced. Zara's mind raced. One name stood out, Duke Thompson, a quiet investor who had been loyal to her before Julian had arrived. She remembered how he praised her work, emphasizing passion and integrity. Yes, Duke. He'll understand. He never tried to exploit my wealth. Mama Tola smiled. Reach out to him, child. You'll need many hands to weather this storm. The next morning, Zara used her disposable phone to call Duke's office. Her heart pounded as the line rang, expecting it to be disconnected. When someone finally answered, Zara hesitated. May I speak with Duke Thompson? It's regarding Zara Okoye. There was a pause. Mr. Thompson is unavailable at the moment. Can I take a message? Zara swallowed hard. She needed to be cautious. Tell him the woman he once called the soul of the sea needs help. She ended the call, unsure of the outcome. Julian might have eyes on Duke's communications, or perhaps Duke had already sided with Julian. But she had to try. That evening, as Mama Tola prepared a simple meal, the battery-powered radio crackled to life. Zara froze as she heard the news. Julian Blake, widower of the late billionaire heiress Zara Okoye, announced a major restructuring. At Okoye Innovations today, Zara clutched the radio, rage and heartbreak building in her chest as she heard about Julian's plans to rebrand the company, shifting its focus to luxury cruise liners. He's not just stealing from me, Zara whispered. He's dismantling everything I built. Mama Tola's voice was steady, comforting. Then we'll stop him piece by piece. Zara looked at her, a fire igniting within her. The master plan was in motion, and there would be no turning back. Julian Blake, my husband, she declared, her voice icily polite. I believe you owe this room an explanation, specifically how you came to seize control of my assets. Julian's throat moved as he swallowed, trying to regain some semblance of composure. Zara, he stammered, forcing a trembling smile. Is it really you? My God, I thought you were lost at sea. We all mourned you. Zara's expression froze, her gaze cutting through him. Mourned me, while forging my signature on countless documents, or perhaps while funneling funds into private accounts and launching a brand that completely disregards my life's work? The room fell into hushed whispers. Some board members gaped at Julian while others looked relieved or triumphant. Nia stepped forward holding a folder. We have proof that Julian falsified signatures and tampered with corporate records. Detective Kamari has confirmed testimonies from the yacht's crew, revealing Zara's fall overboard wasn't an accident. Kamari, standing at the back of the room, stepped into view. As of this morning, an arrest warrant for Julian Blake has been issued. We can't act immediately as we're finalizing the forensics, but we're closing in. Julian's face twisted with fury as he jumped to his feet. You can't prove any of that, he bellowed, slamming his fist onto the table. Zara, please, whatever happened, it was an accident. You have to believe me. I tried to save you. Zara's voice was low and controlled, tinged with quiet power. I saw your face just before you pushed me. The room went deathly silent. There was no accident, Zara continued, her voice chilling. You left me to die. A stunned silence fell. 2 uniformed officers, alerted by Kamari, waited outside, poised for action. The media flashes began, blinding and relentless as the cameras captured every moment of the stunning confrontation. Zara scanned the room, locking eyes with the board members. I'm taking my seat as CEO again, effective immediately, she said, firmly. And Duke Thompson will be appointed as my co-CEO, ensuring transparency moving forward. The chairman nodded quickly, eager to comply. Of course, Ms. Okoye. We fully support your return. Julian's eyes darted frantically, his face desperate for an escape, one that was no longer available. The realization hit him. His carefully crafted persona had just crumbled, exposed to the corporate world in real time. As the boardroom erupted into chaos, voices raised in shock and disbelief, Zara motioned to Nia. Nia calmly inserted a flash drive into the room's main projector, the large screen flickering to life. The room quieted, all eyes glued to the screen as Julian's face drained of color. This footage, Nia began, her voice steady, was recorded by a hidden GoPro camera Zara's friend gave her before the trip. It was meant to capture conservation footage, unaware that it was documenting her own attempted murder. The screen flickered to life, showing a shaky but clear video. Zara's and Julian's voices rang out over the tumult of the storm. Zara stood on the yacht's deck, the storm raging around her. Julian appeared, and though the angle was slightly off, the camera clearly showed him shoving Zara into the churning. See. Her scream pierced the audio and the camera tumbled, eventually going dark. Gasps filled the room. Some covered their mouths in horror, others glared at Julian, disgusted. Detective Kamari stepped forward to face him. "You're lying," Julian spat, his voice trembling, but his words were hollow. Zara's eyes narrowed. "That's all the proof I need. You made me your victim, Julian, but I didn't die." In a blind fury, Julian lunged across the table, reaching for the flash drive, but officers were quick to move in, restraining him. The room was alive with the sound of cameras clicking as the struggle unfolded before them. "You can't do this to me," Julian screamed, his composure shattered. "Everything I did for us, for the company." Kamari stepped forward, his tone unwavering. "Julian Blake, you are under investigation for attempted murder, fraud, and embezzlement. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court." As the handcuffs snapped into place, Julian thrashed briefly before collapsing into himself, the weight of his actions finally sinking in. He knew there was no escaping the evidence. Zara, her heart pounding in her chest, lifted her chin. A rush of emotions swept over her, anger, relief, sorrow. But she stood tall, an unwavering figure in the eyes of everyone in the room. The media broadcasted the event live. By the end of the day, the footage had gone viral, flooding social media with outrage and support for Zara. Even longtime skeptics had to admit that the once mysterious stories about her disappearance had been replaced by undeniable proof. Outside, the boardroom, the Lagos skyline glistened under the bright sun, an ironic contrast to the darkness Julian had tried to cast over Zara's life. With the evidence now on her side and the public behind her, Zara Okoye hadn't just survived. She'd taken back her empire. That evening, Julian's assets were frozen by court order. Investigators seized his personal devices, unraveling a web of emails, offshore accounts, and illegal transactions. Within days, even more damning evidence surfaced. Public opinion, once sympathetic to the grieving husband, now turned savage. Late-night talk shows ridiculed him, while memes flooded the internet depicting his stunned face in handcuffs. At the Okoye mansion, Mama Tola wept with joy when Zara walked through the doors. They embraced, tears mingling between them. Nia joined them, and the three women shared a long hug, feeling the weight of their struggle lift. "You did it," Nia whispered. "You've come back stronger than ever." Zara managed a shaky smile. "I couldn't have done it without you, or Detective Kamari, or Duke Thompson." Duke, who had arrived at Zara's invitation, entered the foyer and offered a respectful nod to Mama Tola. He turned to Zara. "The board is eager for your leadership. I've never seen them so unified." Zara's smile softened. "You stood by me before you even knew I was alive. I'll never forget that." "I always believed in your vision," Duke replied, sincerity in his voice. Their conversation was interrupted by the sounds of cameras outside. The reporters had gathered at the gates, eager for more details on Zara's remarkable return. Zara had made a brief statement earlier, But the media's hunger for every piece of her story was far from satisfied. Slipping away from the windows, Zara and Duke retreated to her father's study, a sanctuary filled with the memories of her family. Zara ran her fingers across a framed photo of her parents on a yacht, one of the last photos taken before the tragic accident that claimed their lives. The irony of nearly dying on a yacht herself was not lost on her. "How do you feel?" Duke asked, gently, settling across from her. "Tired," she admitted, sinking into an armchair. "Angry at Julian, grateful to everyone who believed in me, and uncertain. There's so much to rebuild." Duke leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You have time. The first step is ensuring Julian faces justice. Once that's done, we can focus on rebuilding Okoye Innovations, the way you envision it." Zara's eyes glimmered with resolve. "I want new scholarships, advanced research labs, expanded ocean cleanup projects, everything I had planned before. Julian tried to destroy me." Duke smiled. "You'll have it. The board is behind you and the public is rallying to your side. Shareholders will see the value in your philanthropic approach now that the world is watching." Their conversation stretched into the night, occasionally interrupted by Mama offering tea or Nia delivering updates. As the hours passed, the world outside buzzed with an intense fascination for the woman who had survived betrayal, rebuilt her empire, and reclaimed her future.